I had cut the front end because I was going to do something crazy with it and put this gym golf cart front end assembly and make it like all-wheel drive, but I'll be saving that for another project. So everything is all cleaned off from when I've built this thing a couple times and unbuilt it. It's been like built up a couple times and broken back down. I have a high-speed D&D motor. This is a 48 volt motor. We will be running this at 72 volts. So it will be not advised to stay in the top speed for too long. It will be over rotating the motor and cause excess heat, but should be fine. Here's all the components that I will be putting in here. This is a very nice lighting kit. It came with this turn signal, which looks kind of very OEM. It felt a little cheap when I was playing with it, but we'll see. Maybe it just needs to be broken in. Hopefully it just doesn't break. This is a Nokian's Luxury Plus LED kit. Not sponsored by them at any way or sponsored by anybody. What's nice though, it did come in with this converter here. So it came in with a 20 amp converter already. We also have a horn. Everything is wired up so I can kind of separate parts like to unplug it and make things easier. I guess that some of that would maybe go into the body, so that would be able to unplug and take the body off is what I'm assuming that's for. I haven't got too much detail on it. I do have LED strips on the bottom here. They go all the way across over there and there. I got one strip that just goes all the way across the whole entire bottom of the golf cart. I'm going to leave those on. I will be doing some painting with epoxy and some bed liner paint. Maybe just the epoxy paint. So this will be the power supply, or not the power supply, but this is what's going to power it. So the power drivetrain. It is a knockoff Curtis DC controller, 60 to 72 volts, 400 amp. This has a forward and reverse contactor already built in on this plate, which actually has some grooves on the bottom to help get rid of some of the heat. It came with this, and I have absolutely no idea where it goes. It was just kind of taped over there. Strange. They did come with the pins, so I can make my own wiring harness for this. Comes with the pedal that's matched to the controller, 0 to 5K. And so you notice it didn't have a front suspension. This is what I'm going to be using for the front suspension. It is like a golf buggy, dune buggy, go-kart like suspension setup. So I'll have to figure out how I'm going to get that on there. And what I can do to kind of soften up the back to get the suspension to kind of match. This was the original batteries that I was going to use, but they're really heavy and very big. I'm looking to hopefully get some of the EV cells that I did a mock-up of these. 5 of these guys is all I would need to get to my 72 volt. And you can see how easily I'll be able to fit 5 of these in there. No problem. Some of the other items I have over here. Brains of the operation on lithium batteries. We have two 20S 250 amp continuous BMSs. These are from LLT BMS. I'll put the link down below. And here are some headlights, LEDs, and possibly side lights. These are by Nilights. Seem to be pretty decent. And the other items will be rear seat. I've got a push bar. Those are cushions for the rear seat. That is like the little bar that goes across on the very back for helping people to hold on. I got a lot of batteries. And I think that's going to do it. Alright, so this is going to be the body. It has actually already been painted with automotive paint. So it's got a base coat and clear coat. It is extremely shiny. This front here actually already has the LED strip. You can see right there. It actually travels all the way across one side to the other. I didn't want to get too close because there's this spider right there. And here's the seats here. They're the wrong color, but we'll figure that out later. They will still be functional. And a bunch of plastics I won't use, parts for the rear seat, and my motion sensor detector going off. So, first thing I did was make a mess. A lot of aluminum shavings. And that's where I decided to mount that, giving me all the open space here, as you can see. And it's a pretty good dry spot for that. And then 2 bolts in the bottom, and I'm pretty much mounted. I'm going to actually put 2 more brackets up there somewhere to brace it up a little bit better, because it's kind of heavy. Alright, so working on the front here. I've got the templates taped on there. So, ready to cut these guys. Alright, so the first thing I did, I moved over to some concrete so I could clean up my mess a little easier. And I drilled 4 holes. I believe it's a 3/8 bit on each corner. And I'm going to run a jigsaw all the way across and connect all 4 corners. So I figured I'd go ahead and test fit one and see if I need to make any adjustments. And as you can see here, it seems to fit pretty good. It's very oversized, so it fits right in there. And you can see how much bigger it actually is. 4 holes and then just kind of cut through. What I was doing is kind of pulling the blade out and then turning and then cutting through. You can kind of go through it, but I didn't like it. When you do pull it out, just make sure that it stops moving, because you will end up hitting somewhere where you don't want to. Other than that, there is a bit of play in it, so you can kind of adjust them a little bit in case your holes aren't perfectly lined up, so don't worry too much about that. And there it is. It looks pretty good. Let's throw this one in there real quick. That's a little tighter. Alright, so that one's a little tight. So I'm going to have to trim that just a little bit more so I can get that one in there. There it is. Alright, so adding some color to these taillights. I wanted to go with the black and blue theme on this golf cart. What I have here is this primer, which is going to be the first base coat that goes on. This is going to be the mid coat, which is fluorescent. This is actually going to glow in certain LEDs and black lights. This is the color I'm trying to get to, but I need this to kind of act as a backing for this one, so it covers better. Because black is very hard for this to just spray on. You won't really see it very well. And then I got a little bit of gloss to go over it. Go ahead and show you what it looks like so far. Motion alarm again. Alright, so here's the first side. That's just the first coat of that. I did 2 coats, a light one and then another one just to make sure I get everything covered. And then here you can see that is actually done with that fluorescent. So now I'm going to clear coat it once this actually dries up a little bit. Alright, looks pretty good. Suspension had arrived for this guy. This is what we decided to get put on here is a SGC suspension kit. What I do like about this kit is it's a coil over design. And you can see it goes right in there. There's absolutely no leaf spring. So this is probably the closest you can get to a Jake's long travel suspension without having to spend $1,600. We spent about $350, I think, for this right off eBay. And so it's not for this style vehicle. This is a club car DS. It's an old resistor cart, and this is actually for an Ezgo golf cart. But this had the best suspension, and what I did is actually cut that off because I was going to try some other weird stuff. I'm going to put this back here. I'm going to cut that right there, place that there. Then I'm going to put back this piece that I cut off on this side. I'm going to trim this amount of material off of it. That way it fits in the right position, and I can use these bolt holes for the body that goes over the top. Now, the other thing that I noticed that came with these holes go through those holes, and then this mounts normally on the in the plate there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut these shorter, and I'm going to actually kind of put them in there, right about there, but it'll be more like that. That hole kind of lines up pretty much. And I'm going to put these going the other direction, but basically right onto here. And then that will connect. Oh, Jesus. Alright, so the first plug is done. I use a high temperature tape to kind of wrap it one more time to isolate each other, and then I'm going to go ahead and tape them all together. Eventually be a zip tie over here. By the way, you know, these are very dangerous to have these terminals exposed. Say if you were to take this tool and it come out of your hands and land on top of that, that would not be good at all. So it's good to, you know, put something over top of those. You can kind of pull them back as you need to look at it to find out what sells what. But so far all these are in the right spot, and I'm ready to move on to this one. I did get rid of all the yellow wires. Those are temp sensors. You can just kind of cut those out. They're not actually conductive at all. You do need to cut these one at a time. If you cut them all at once, that will not be good. So, set up a little workstation for the day. And I needed to pull up my good welder so I can weld up this structural piece because it is, you know, pretty heavy duty. It's pretty thick. So what I'm going to do is actually weld that on there. This guy will go right there, and then I'll be able to basically kind of clamshell it and then weld and basically extend it that way, because I need to make a little bit more space this direction, or length this direction. There's the first step here. Got this all welded up pretty nice. Some decent welds in there. Ooh, it's still warm. Should be wearing welding gloves. Yeah, a little bit of a booger there, but you know, it's not made for looks, it's made for performance. So that should do. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this guy and sandwich him in there and weld him up, and ta-da! Here it is, all done welding, and you know, it's been given it time to cool down. I was using a rag with water. I had to get crazy and kind of fill in those big gaps there, but everything worked out pretty good. And there's the other side. Got a nice little extra booger there, but every part that I could weld might have been my best one right there. All my good welds that I could make, I did. So it seems to be a pretty sturdy part. I think it'll do. Alright, there's the piece installed. Now the suspension on this is actually together, besides just the steering rack that I'm still finishing. And I need to put that guy back on. I took this off for some stupid reason, and now I gotta put it back on. But anyways, yeah, a couple tack welds just so I can actually hold this bumper, put these holes here. And also, I got that push bar over there. That kind of needs to go on there, so it'll just make it a little easier. But that's pretty much it. It's all nice and clean. And I'll show you the shot over on this side. So if anybody's ever removed one of these, you know they're a pain in the butt. So I'm going to give this a shot and see how that works. I got to get it off so I can actually slide that on. I believe because of my modification, I might have to trim a little bit more right here, because mine does seem to sit a little bit lower than factory maybe. I don't know. I'll find out. Alright, well, I kept sliding off, so I tried that, but now, as you see, it's trying to slide off again. Looks like I'm about to invent something. Alright, here we go. Attempt number 3. I punched some holes through it. and strapped it down because it still slid out, and let's see if this works. So I finally finished the Lexan box here. I just had to seal it all up. It just seemed like the easiest material to work with versus a diamond plate, and actually I kind of like it being clear. It looks pretty cool. Seal up in there in a little bit, but for the most part it's been I got a 2-part epoxy in there and then silicone afterwards.